Okay, we're going to be doing a standard access list. And remember in our last video, we were talking about different kinds of access lists. So now that we've covered them, there's standard access list, extended access list, named access lists, time-based access list, MAC access list, and there are a few others, but we want to get a little bit more pragmatic and practical in our application and actually, create and use an access list. So we have a simple network here, just 4 networks. There's really no subnetting involved. It's just normal CIDR 24 for a normal Class C network. So we have 192.168.13, there's network 13. 192.168.14, there's network 14. Network 15. And 192.168.16, network 16. We have 3 routers routing between the networks and connecting them all via adjacencies. And I'm just using static routing. So I just did 2 IP routes here, here, and here to teach the routers about anything that's not a direct adjacency to them. And they're all routing traffic just fine. And if I wanted to test it, let me go over here and I will ping. I'm on 6 right now, and 6 is 192.168.13.6, and I'll ping 8, which is 192.168.16.8, so several networks away. 192.168.16.8, just to show you that we have some connectivity there. Okay, so 6 is good, and then 7. Let's see if 7 can ping 199 and 207 and 16.8. Make sure the gateway's set up. Oops, I said 68. Might help if I type in the right network, eh? There we go. So we have connectivity, and everything looks good. So, we know that our routing is not an issue and everything's okay. Now what we want to do is be able to use an access list to, let's block this specific host here, 7. But we want to allow anybody else on the network 13 to get through to network 16. Okay, and by the way, why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Ha 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 ha. And you might notice a theme here. If you look at our switches on the 13 network, we have Mr. Snuffleupagus, and on the 16 network, we have Oscar the Grouch. And we have 3 routers, Grover, Big Bird, and the Count. And by the way, if we log onto the Count, 1 2800 series ISR router, 2 2800 series ISR routers, 3 2800, okay, yeah, I know, all right. But anyway, we have to have some fun. Okay, so we have our basic network. We verified that traffic can get through, but we want to stop 7 from aiding 9, but not 6, because 6 is afraid of 7. So how can we do this? Well, again, Cisco says it should be on the destination. So we said it would be this router that would be the best choice. Closest to the destination, standard access list only specifies the source IP, so 192.168.13.7 is what we want to block. Let's hop onto our router and get started. So I'm going to go to privilege mode, and I'm going to go into global configuration mode, and I'm going to make an access list with the keyword of the command, not liet, should be lister. And I'm going to use the help system, the question mark, just to show you the different kinds. Once again, we talked about this in the last video, but let's see how it looks on the router. So if I want to make a standard access list, remember that it was a number between 1 and 99. And if I want to make an extended access list, remember it was a number between 100 and 199. Gosh, it's hard to say that. So the router uses the numerical range to be able to tell what kind of access list you're making. In this case, if I picked a number, say 7, then that would be standard access list. If I picked a number, say 155, that's an extended access list. Remember the differences. A standard access list only allows you to specify the source IP. And then you can choose an action, permit, or deny, and you can't really specify a port number, just a whole protocol stack. Now, an extended access list, on the other hand, is much more versatile. You specify both the source and the destination IP or network, and you also specify the port number. Okay, and then in addition to that, we also remember, we have the expanded range. So if for some reason, 1 through 99 is not enough for you for a standard access list, then you also can use the expanded range, which would be 1,300 to 1,999. I'm not sure why you'd have that many access lists on your router, but who knows. And same thing for extended access list. If 100 through 199 is not enough for you, then you can use the expanded range, okay? So down here, there's extended access list 2,000 to 2,699, and that should be enough for anybody, right? Okay, so I have the command access list, and to make a standard list, it needs to be between 1 and 99, so I'm going to use my lucky number 7 here. And now I just want to specify some rules, and I'm going to denied, and a specific host in this case. Now, it could be a whole range, right? I could do an entire network, 199. If I did this, 207.13.0, and if I went 0.0.0.255, that would block out the entire network. But that's not what we want. We don't want to do that. We want to do a specific host here. So I'm going to say host, and 199.207 and 13 and 7 is the particular host that we want to block. We want to stop 7 from aiding 9. Now, if I left it like this, that would be a problem, because remember, there's an implicit deny all at the end of every access list. So if I don't, change that, if I don't add my catch-all, remember we talked about a catch-all in the last video? If I don't add that catch-all in, then I'm going to be, inadvertently or accidentally, I'm going to end up blocking all the traffic coming from network 13. That's not what I want. I want to make sure that I let all the other guys through. 6 we trust, and who knows, maybe 1 through 5 are pretty cool, but we just want to stop 7 from aiding 9. So for my catch-all rule, I would simply say, and typically this is what you do, again, the command access list, 7, access list. No, that's not what we want, is it? I just can't type and talk at the same time. I find can't walk and chew gum at the same time. But okay, so permit, and I'm going to go ahead and permit anybody else. And the way this works, when you can have multiple rules in one access list, and they're evaluated one by one. So that list is applied to a packet or datagram coming in. It's analyzed, looks at the headers and the field data, and if a match is found, in this case, coming from the source address of 192.168.13.7, then the other rules are never even, applied to that packet. It just stops at the process, and then whatever the action is, permit, deny, drop it, accept it, whatever, that gets performed. So, I could have a dozen rules here, or even more, and then they would just be applied, or examined one by one and compared against the packet or datagram to see if there was a match. But once there is a match, we break out of that list. So if I add the catch-all, then that way if the packet comes from somebody else who's not 192.168.13.7, this rule would be skipped, and then we get to this rule, and this rule would be obeyed, and then it would just stop. It would end. Were it not for that, that implicit deny would just stop everybody in the network from accessing. So again, that's not what we want. So you're always going to have at least one rule, if not more, and in addition, you're going to have some kind of a catch-all rule at the end of any access list, at least typically. So we've created the access list, and let's go ahead and hop down here and look at our running configuration. And we haven't applied it yet, so it's not going to really affect anything. It's not going to change anything yet until we apply it. But it's there. See, there it is. Access list 7, deny 192.168.13.7. Let's stop that horrible number 7 from aiding 9. And then there's our catch-all, permit any right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. And once again, we're just going to verify. I just want to verify that I've created the access list, but it's not doing anything yet. So if I were to try to ping 109.207.16.8, there's my 4 echo replies. All right, doesn't change anything. It doesn't have any effect on anything until we actually apply it to an interface. So now let's do that. And again, I want to go to global configuration mode from privilege mode, and me nut can type. Okay, so I need to select an interface, and the interface that I want to select, remember, it's closest to the destination. Here's where I want to apply it. Well, my destination is network 16. Well, this port here, okay, this port on my router, fast Ethernet 01, slot 0 port 1, that's the closest to the destination. So that's what we should select and what we should apply it to. So fast Ethernet 01 it is. We selected it. And the command I need to use to apply the access list is IP access group. Ooh, man, I'm telling you, I really need some coffee or something. Okay, IP access group, and then, whatever we called it. In this case, we named it 7. And then I can specify, either incoming or outgoing traffic. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to specify outgoing traffic. Anything, I want to block anything going out of the interface, and I'm going to apply it that way. And now I'm going to go ahead and exit. I could Control Z, whatever you want to do there. And let me do copy run start. And let me look at my running configuration. And if you look at my interface now it's telling me, hey, look, there's IP access group 7, right? And it's applied to outgoing traffic. So you specify incoming, outgoing. Sometimes the differences are subtle. Sometimes they are profound. think about whether whether it's the traffic coming in you want to filter or the traffic leaving that you want to filter. There's some other commands. The show run's probably the greatest, the most powerful, because you can see both the interfaces an access list is applied to and the access lists themselves and what the rules thereof are. But there are other commands you can use as well. Lots of show commands. We love those. And if I did show access list, that would list all my access lists. I only have one, but if I had more than one, it would show them all. Likewise, I'll hit the up arrow, and if I did show access list and an access list number, I could just pick that one access list out of all my access lists. And there are other commands as well. There's show IP access list and show IP interface and show MAC access group. So I'll do a show IP access list. And not much different, in terms of the information there, but show IP interface. Look at all my interfaces. There's fast Ethernet 00. There's fast Ethernet 01. And let's see, how about, well, wouldn't really do it here, but on a switch, I might use show MAC access group if I had a MAC access list. But I think personally the most useful command is just show run, right? Because you get an interface an access list is applied to, and you also get the rules in that access list. So things are set up. We created the list, and we applied it to an interface. Let's go ahead and, because I've been flapping my jaws up and down, I can't remember whether or not I saved it, so I'll save it, and there. And let's test it now and see if things work properly. If our first rule works, 7 should be blocked from pinging 8 on this network. And if our catch-all rule beneath it works, then 6 should be allowed. 6 should not be blocked, 7 should be blocked. So we'll test the first rule, 7, on our access list, and let's see if we can't ping. And 199.207.16.8. See if 7 can 8.9. Yay, our first rule works. Request timed out, so 7 is being blocked, and 7 can no longer 8.9. And now let's try 6. So we'll log into 6 here, and let's see if we can't ping 199.207 and 16 and 8. Yay, 4 echo replies. So our catch-all rule, permit any, is working in that access list. Now let's look at setting up an access list and applying it to a line. We've done it to an interface, and that's with the command IP access group. But now I want to do it to a line, and that'll be with the command access-class. And the most common use of this would be like, controlling access to telnet, which by default is through the virtual terminal or VTY port. And remember that before you can telnet, you've actually got to configure a password on the virtual terminal. So let's do that first. Let's make sure that we can actually telnet in. And I'm going to go ahead and set up my passwords. And go to privilege mode. And I'm on Grover. And I want to go into global configuration mode. And enable secret and Kiwi is my secret. And I'm going to select my lines. Really just need to set virtual terminal or VTY 01180. But I'm going to do console too. So, and auxiliary, Kiwi, login, and let's enable telnet and VTY04. Nope, let's see, 1180. You can't remember, you just use the help system, hit the question mark, but let's do password and Kiwi and login, okay? So that's everything we need to enable telnet. I'm just going to copy, run, start it to save it. And let's just make sure that we can. So from 7, can we telnet into 199.207.15.2? Kiwi. There's our password. Good. And what about 6? So all of network. Let's do 199.207.15.2. Looks good. Okay. And let's try the other interface as well. So we'll try 16.1 on the 16 network. Our routing setup right. Let's see, 16.1. and again we can telnet in. Okay. So now what we want to do, let's look at applying an access list to control access to telnet. We'll look at blocking a specific host, and then we'll look at blocking an entire network. So let's apply our access list, and we're just going to block again a specific host this time, and log in with our password. And instead of selecting an interface, we'll end up selecting a line. But first we've got to create the access list. And since we're doing a standard access list, this will be a standard one. And access list, and let's see, our last one was 7, so we'll make this one 8. We'll number it sequentially. And we want to deny, and let's look at first denying a specific host. So this time, we denied 7 access to this network, but this time we'll deny 6 access to telnet on the router Grover. And so we'll deny a specific host, and 199.207.13 and 6 is the host we want to deny. And if I do this, remember I need to go ahead and add my catch-all. So access list 8 and permit any. I don't permit anybody else in. Okay. And when my access is created now, I just need to apply it. But instead of selecting an interface, this time I'm going to select the line. So line VTY for virtual terminal telnet, and then 0. And every router model is different. The 2900 series is 1114, but whatever you're on, you can hit the question mark and figure out what the line is. So now that I'm here, I want to apply it. And if I had selected an interface, I'd use the command IP space access-group and then the access list number and then in or out. But when you select a line, the command's a little bit different. Instead of using access group, you use access-class, okay, and no IP. So access, I can't even say that. Access-class, and then the number of the access list we created was 8. And we want to specify, is it going to be incoming or outgoing traffic? Okay. And in this case, it's going to be incoming traffic, anybody who's trying to access telnet. So we'll see if there's a match in that access list, and I'll apply it. And I'm going to get it back down to privilege mode, and we'll just look at our running configuration once again. Okay, so there's access list 7 that is blocking, in this case, one host from accessing, our 16 network, and it's applied to interface F01. And then if we come down here, here's access list 7, and here's access list 8, and what they're doing. So we're blocking host 7, and now we're blocking host 6. And let's see, in this case, we have VTY, and then our VTY, our virtual terminal, our telnet here, we're applying the access class, so our access list 8, and that's on incoming traffic there. So all of that is available to us. We can see it if we show a running configuration. So I'm just going to do copy run start. And now let's test it out. So if everything works the way that it should, I should be able to telnet in from host 7. So I'm going to try that. Host 7, I'm going to do 199.207.15.2, and everything's hunky-dory. I can get there from host 7. However, I should not, remember that was the catch-all rule, that was the second rule, but the very first rule, remember we were blocking 6, so on this host, I should not be able to telnet in. And it's doing what it should, it's blocking my access. Okay. So we've looked at blocking a single host. Now what about a range? What about an entire network or an entire subnet? For that we need to use the block masking we were talking about in the previous video. So I'm going to log on to Grover and type in my password of Kiwi, and let me go into privilege mode Kiwi, And now that I'm in privilege mode, go to global configuration mode with a config T. First off, how would you get rid of, and how would you unapply an access list, and how would you delete it? Haven't really gone over that yet. So to unapply it, let me select the line VTY 01180. And the syntax, you can just use no, like you can with so many other commands in the IS to negate something. And so if I wanted to remove the access list I had previously applied, remember it was access list 8, then I could simply say no access class, and then I need to remember whether it was incoming or outgoing. In this case it was incoming traffic, and then 8 and in. Okay, and then if I do that, it'll no longer be applied. So were I to zoom out and look at my running configuration, notice now it's no longer applied. And then what if I wanted to actually delete an access list? Okay, remember that I had list 7 and 8 up here. So what if I wanted to actually get rid of a list? Well, same thing, just use your no syntax and access list 8, and now it's gone. And I'll zoom out and I'll look at my running configuration, and as you can see now, there's only access list 7 there. Okay, so let's look at how, again, how would we block a range, a whole subnet or a whole network? So I'm going to go to global configuration mode and make a new access list, and I'll give it the same number, access list 8, because that's what it was before. And I want to deny, and this time I'm going to do 199.207.13 and 0. So an entire network, and remember that the mask is inverted, so it would be 0.0. Oops, let me get that. 207.13.0, and then 0.0.0. So these first three zeros say match the 199, match the 207, and match the 13 exactly, and then let me add the 255, and that's any host in the last octet. Okay, so if I put that in there, that's one rule. Now remember, I also have to add my catch-all, otherwise nobody's going to be let in. So that'll block network 13. I'm going to add my catch-all, which will be same name, access list, and 8, and permit anybody else. Okay, and now I want to apply it. So remember that was line and VTY and 01180, and the command was access class instead of IP access group, access class 8, and I want to specify incoming traffic or inbound. Okay, so everything's set on the router. So now let's test it out, and if things work the way they should, our first rule on the access list should block all traffic from network 13. So let's try that. Well, at least telnet traffic anyway. So let's telnet into 199.207.15.2, and notice that it's our access list rule. The first rule is blocking us because we're in network 13. So things are okay there. And then let's see if it's multiple hosts, which is what we want. We want everybody on network 13. Tell enet. Boy, I'm telling you, I can't type today. Telnet 199.207 and 15.2. And same thing, it's it's blocking our connection. Okay, so the first rule is at work. It's blocking everybody on network 13. Now let's try on network 14. I'm gonna hop into the router over here, Big Bird, networks 14 and 15, and see if we can't get in. And this will test our catch-all, right? The second rule in our access list. Okay. And 199.207.15.2. Okay. And it let us right in. So we've telneted into Grover. So because we're on network 14 over here and not on network 13, the catch-all let us in. even though the first rule in the access list blocks all of network 13 with our mask value. We've created standard access lists. Now let's create some extended access lists. To do this, we first want to remove the previous standard ones that we created. And this will be good practice. So let's hop onto Grover, the router where we created them, and type in our password of Kiwi, and go to privilege mode with Kiwi. And now that we're in privilege mode, let's do a show run real quick. And if you're on a 2800 series router, you can actually do this from global configuration mode. You can type do space show space run. But I try to make things backwards compatible, so even though I'm on a 2800 series and I could do that, if you're on a 2600, you would not be able to use the do command, so I'm not going to use it on the 2800 either, just in case you're on older equipment. But we want to look at our access lists and any interfaces that are applied. So notice on Fast Ethernet 01, we had applied a standard access list there, 7 to outgoing traffic. We want to remove that. And notice that our access lists are down here. There are 2 of them, 7 and 8. Those are the ones we created. And notice that there's also an access class or access list applied to the virtual terminal for Telnet, VTY. The syntax is just no, right? To undo or negate anything in the IS. So kind of like the French not by. So I want to first select, let's do the Telnet. So VTY and 0 and 1180, my last line number. And I just want to use the keyword command no. Access-class, remember it's access-group for the interface, access-class for a line. And my access list number was 8, and it was incoming traffic, right? So in and out, ingoing, or incoming, outgoing, in this case in. And that removes that access list from the line. So if it's still there in memory, and I can reapply it to this interface or some other interface if I want to. But now it will no longer govern that line and no longer block traffic. So we removed the access list from our VTY or Telnet. We just want to remove it from interface Fast Ethernet 01 this time. So I'm going to exit out, and I just want to select the interface. And just like the other commands that we undid, it's going to be no, and then IP. And unlike line, which was access-class, this is access-group. You have to put IP in front of it. The access list was 7, and it was specified outgoing traffic. Okay, so then we remove that access list. So these lists are no longer applied to any interfaces. We could have just deleted them. That would have solved it, but I thought this would be good practice here. And let's go ahead and, I almost went back to Linux there. Let's go back here, and now let's get rid of the access list themselves. So to do that, again, it's just going to be no access lists, and we'll specify 8, and I'll hit the up arrow and 7. Alright, so now they're gone. And nothing's on our interfaces, and there are no access lists that are configured anywhere. So now we're ready to start setting up our extended access lists. We've gotten rid of all our standard access lists. On our extended access list, we're going to block Telnet access from 7 to this router here. So before we implement an access list, let's make sure we can indeed Telnet in to that router. So 192.168.15.2, and using the password, we see that we can Telnet into the router. So to implement our extended access list, let's hop on the router, go into privilege mode, global configuration mode, and want to use the access list command. Numerically, remember an extended list is going to be between 100 and 199, so I'll choose 150. I need to specify an action, permit or deny, in this case deny. And then I want to specify a protocol, in this case transmission control protocol, so I can specify a port. And the IP address 192.168.13.7. Oops, and let me put host because I'm specifying a specific host there. Host 192.168.13.7. And then where I'm wanting or what I'm wanting to block. In this case, let's do all of network 15. Can't get past network 15, and okay. So 15.1, 15.2 there. And I could specify a specific host with the host keyword, but I'm just going to do, just to show you how to do a range, 199, and it'll be 207 and 15 and 0, and then a mask. Let me pull this over here. So it's going to be 0000255. And remember that a normal class C subnet mask would be 255, 255, 2550, but this is the inverse for a wildcard mask on access lists. So the 000 means match 199, 207, and 15 exactly. And the 255 means any host on that entire network. Then EQ specify the port or the protocol, and the protocol is telnet. Okay, so that's my first rule. Now I just need to add my catch-all so that all other traffic is not blocked by the default, or the implicit deny there. So access list again, and 150 for the label. And this time what I want to do is I need to permit any other traffic that's not matched by the first rule. So it's going to be permit IP, and then the source would be any, and the destination would be any. Okay. And now with this, this access is created, let's save it. Control Z in a privilege mode. Okay. And now we can see our access list right here, everything that it's doing, but it's not applied yet. All right. Once again, if being created but not applied, if we were to log on, and we can do it just fine because the list is inert and it's just sitting on the router until we actually apply it to an interface. So what interface do we want to apply it to? Well, why don't we apply it to this interface going out to network 15? Alternatively, we could apply it on this interface coming in, and then also let's look at, well, okay, that's the source, that's the destination, incoming or outgoing, and why don't we choose outgoing? Okay, so outgoing traffic. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, go to global configuration mode, and select an interface, F, fast Ethernet 0, slot 0, port 1, and I want to apply it with, it's going to be IP access group, and then the name of the list we created was 150, and I'm going to specify outgoing traffic in this example. Okay, and now that it's applied, let me exit, and let's look at our running configuration, and we'll look at our IP addressing here, and 150 out. Okay, so let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, now let's test out our configuration, and if things work the way they should, the first rule in the access list from the host of 7 should be, it should block telnet access. So I'm going to try that. Telnet into 199, 207, and 15 and 2. And remember, our rule was to block the specific host 199.207.13.7 from accessing the entire 15 network. Okay, and it is, we can't telnet. Now, on the other hand, since it was a specific host, that means 6 should be able to telnet into network 15, because the second rule, the catch-all, would then apply to it. So on this network, 199.207.15.2, and there we go, we can telnet in, and there's grrr. Okay, so it works as we expected it to. So let's remove our access list, and we'll do a named access list as our third one. So I'm going to go into privilege mode, and it was on our interface, fast Ethernet 01, and I believe it was outgoing. So remember that the syntax is no IP and access group, because the command we used was IP access group, and then the list number was 150. And it was outgoing. And that'll remove that list. And let's exit, and then let's also delete the list. So we'll get rid of it with no access list 150. Okay. And nothing applied on our interfaces, and no access lists. Alright, so let's do a named access list now, which is a lot like a standard or an extended access list, but the syntax is a little different, and it has you can use a string to give it a title or a label. So we're going to log into our router Grover, and let's give it our password of Gary, and let's go to privilege mode, Gary, and let's go to global configuration mode with a config T. And instead of access-list, like we began our standard and our extended, we're going to begin with IP access-list. And the next thing we want to do is specify either standard or extended. Either one could be a named access list, but in this case we're going to choose standard. So standard. And then we just want to give it a string value for the name. So some ASCII string value, I'm going to call it block 7, because that's what it's going to do, block 7. Notice when I do that how the prompt changes from global configuration mode config to config standard named access list. Okay, and then this is really easy because you can kind of break your rules up into just short little stubby segments here. So the first rule is I want to deny the host 199.207.13.7 exactly. And that's all I got to do. I type, I hit enter, and as long as I'm in this prompt, I can add rules. So now for my catch-all permit, I don't have to type in the access list name like I would with standard or extended, and then the number. I just type in whatever rule I want to do. So permit any, since it's standard, only a source, no destination involved, and I'm done. I can exit. My access list is done, and I'm going to zoom down to privilege mode. And what does that look like? Well, if we bring up our access list, here it is. It's prefixed, or it's got a string value, a label, a block 7, and there's just two rules to it. There's the deny 199.207.13.7, and then there's the permit any, which is my catch-all. So how would I apply a named access list? Pretty much similar to the way you would do an extended or a standard access list. With the access group command, I just need to select an interface and need to use the string value. And I want to decide where to apply it and whether it's going to be inbound or outbound traffic that I want to affect. But it'll still be the access group command. Remember that you want to put it closest to the destination with standard access list, and this is a named access list, but it's a named standard access list, so still closest to the destination. In this case, fast Ethernet 01 is where I want to apply the interface. And I want to affect outgoing traffic, so I'm going to specify out or outbound. And so what I want to do is go to global configuration mode, select my interface, fast Ethernet 01. I want to apply it now with the command IP access group, and I want to specify the name, block 7, and I want to specify outbound traffic. Okay. And now that that's applied, I'm going to zoom back down and look at my running configuration. And you can see now that it's applied to fast Ethernet 01. So I'm going to save my configuration and we'll test it out. So now we should be blocking that one IP. And if I log on to 7, let's see if I try to ping 8, what happens. So ping and 199.207.16.8 denied. Good. So the first rule is working, request timed out. And let's look at the catch-all now. The second rule, this IP address is not 199.207.13.7. So let's see if the catch-all applies. And 199.207.16.8. And in this case, the catch-all is allowing anything through that does not match that rule. So just an example of a named access list.